People who work in restaurant chains, what should we never order from that chain? Story 1. I worked at McDonald's in high school for 3 years back in the late 90s, and it was such a ridiculously clean store. We cleaned the soda machines every single night. We cleaned the grills every night. We cleaned the oil regularly. We cleaned the ice cream machine every single night. Our machine was never broken regularly, and if it did really break, then it was down for a minimal amount of time depending on the time of day or if it was the weekend. We never messed with people's food. We were high as shoot in the grill for sure, but we never ever messed with food. We were one of the biggest and busiest stores in my city too. It's always so disheartening to hear how disgusting things are in kitchens in restaurants. Answer. Usain Bolt said that during the Olympics, he switches to a diet of McDonald's, which seems weird for a world-class athlete. But his explanation is that he knows that despite the food being less nutritious than fresh food, it will not make him ill. It won't cause him to get violently ill and throw up, or get diarrhea and cost him a medal from getting sick off some sketchy local food. Story 2. As a teen, I worked at 1. A Sizzler steakhouse. 2. An Italian restaurant. 3. Little Caesars. 4. Subway. As an adult, I refused to eat at 1. Sizzler, if they still exist. 2. Subway, I would happily still eat at the Italian joint, and I still get food from Little Caesars. Answer. There's a guy on YouTube called Chef Reactions, who is a former chef that does food reviews. He told a story about finding an open Sizzler last year while on vacation, and going in since he was surprised one was still around. The manager literally asked him if he was sure he wanted to eat there, and said to take a walk around the salad bar before deciding to stay and eat. He checked out the salad bar and immediately walked out. It's a bummer since my family used to always go to Sizzler back in the 90s. Edit. Found the video. It's him reacting to some old restaurant commercials. Story 3. I never worked fast food, but please do not ever get the freshly squeezed orange juice at Sam's Club. I used to work there, and the horrors I would see. The juicer thinks they're immune because they have gloves on. They wear the same gloves from the start of the shift until the end, going to the bathroom with it, picking up stuff from the floor with it, scratching their jerk with it, etc. Answer. Supervised a kitchen 20 years ago in a theme park. Way too often I saw employees go to storage with gloves on to get something and come back and start handling food. They'd roll their eyes when I said throw the food out, wash your hands and start over. I one time saw someone take gloves off, wash their hands, and try to put the same gloves back on. They were so close, yet so far. Story 4. I'd avoid the chicken anything at Panera. Ours was shredded by the dishwasher guy who did not wear gloves and would stop shredding, handle the dishes, then go right back to shredding without washing his hands at all. I also always gave the soups the side eye, sitting in lukewarm water for hours, sometimes all day if it wasn't a popular flavor, until someone ordered one. I'm just not sure about that. Edit. Dishwasher guy. Sorry, y'all. He was a person who operated the dishwasher appliance and also shredded the chicken for some reason. Answer. It's been over a decade now since I worked at Panera, but the one I worked out was insanely clean. We had a dedicated food prepper in the morning, so there was no crossover like you described. If we needed anything additional later in the day, it would usually be someone from the line who would prep additional food, but it would kind of depend on how busy we were and who was available, knew how to do it. Whoever it was would certainly wash their hands and use fresh gloves, though. For the soups, when you say sitting in warm water, if it worked the same as it did in my restaurant, Soups should have been in lidded containers that were sitting on top of a basin of near boiling water, at least over 165 off. If the water was lukewarm, then the soup you served would have also been lukewarm, which I'm assuming and hope it wasn't. I know ours were hot, and we would have to occasionally add water to the basin, from it boiling, evaporating off. I do think we also may have had a time limit for them, but that I can't completely remember. I know the coffee, we had a time of 2.5 hours, and then we had to change it. Outside that, there were just tons of general food safety practices and cleaning at the cafe which I worked at. Story 5. What I've learned from this post is nothing. The one you worked at when you were a teenager is irrelevant. Many of these places aren't chains. They are franchises, and every one of them will be different depending on who owns it and who works there. Some are probably nasty, and some are probably the cleanest restaurant in the state. Answer: 100 accurate. This thread is useless, not sure if the corporate bots are cleaning this shoot up, but posts like this, even a few years ago, would have had much more informational posts that explained why a chain is bad, not a single location. I doubt most of the posters even worked in restaurants. The answers are mostly vague or related to one location. Story 6. Don't order slushes from Sonic. The machine is difficult to clean, so it's not done as often as it should be. Everything else is pretty clean, though. Story 7. Cece's Pizza. Just all of it. I worked there from 0609, and there is a reason it was like $3.99 for all you can eat. Checking their site now, they still have a deal for $5.99 all you can eat, Mon in twos. How they have kept that price point for almost 20 years should be all you need to know. Answer: my husband and kids and I went a couple years ago. First and only round, each of us got something different: pizza, salad, soup, and pasta. Every single one of us pulled a hair out of our mouths within 2 bites. We stopped eating, and my husband went to the manager and asked for a refund because obviously we weren't going to eat there. They refused to refund us for 2 of the 4 buffet purchases, and when I got mad and said there's literally hair in every fudge dish, the manager shrugs and said, "What do you want? It's CICs." Have never been back and never will go back. Story 8. Any slushy slurpeasy. Those machines are rarely cleaned properly, and the blades inside are covered in mold. Story 9. Years back, I used to manage a Starbucks. The store I took over was pure black mold in the ice machine and the ice bins. I used to go to different stores to show them how to properly clean the ice machines, because people couldn't read a manual. Answer: oh man, this just reminded me of one of my experiences as a shift supervisor. I was covering some shifts at a neighboring store for a week or so. I opened their backup milk fridge, and there was a huge puddle of what could only be described as solidified milk goo. I distinctly remember scrubbing it with the hottest water I could handle and scraping at it with my box cutter until it started coming off. It took more than one shift for it to finally disappear, and the baristas were stunned that I even bothered to try. It was so awful. Story 10. Steak and Shake. Not exactly a restaurant, but please don't order the shakes, lol. Unless things have changed, the shake station is one of the least favorite roles. The base for the shake is a very frozen, rock-solid, heavy cream-like mixture. It was almost impossible to scoop out, and you have maybe 2 to 3 minutes to get the shake made. Attention to cleanliness isn't prioritized when you have backed up shake orders and an establishment that's short-staffed. Story 11. My son worked at Pizza Uno dishwashing in high school. He sent me pics and described the process for the wings. I don't eat there at all, but if forced, I definitely wouldn't get the wings. Story 12. Subway. Our store was super clean and run by normal, responsible people, so no real issues there. But if a store makes the tuna the way corporate wants you to, it's just way too much mayonnaise. We did half the amount and it was fine good, but I bet other stores just follow the directions. Story 13. I worked at Red Lobster for a while between undergrad and law school. I wouldn't order anything from there. There's no way I'd probably even step foot in one. Jesus Christ, that place is gross as fudge. Story 14. I used to work at McDonald's, and I'm surprised the McRib hasn't eliminated people yet. Weird-looking pork patties sitting in old BBQ sauce for hours without being cleaned or changed. Answer, and the fish. I have worked at several chains and am currently the general manager of one. I always tell me friends and family, if the chain isn't known for fish, Long John Silver's, do not order the fish. Spent years watching lazy cooks pre-make fish and hold it in the warmer for far, far past the acceptable hold time. My restaurant makes it to order and will tell you that you will have to wait at least 5 minutes for your food when you choose fish. Story 15. A couple years ago, Burger King changed the chicken sandwiches to raw chicken. The person I know that worked there said when they are busy, they pretty much never tempt them to make sure they are fully cooked, and after having raw ones returned, they didn't bother to fully sanitize the workstations. Story 16. Bob Evans a few years back. If you go to Bob's, just remember the old saying, it's barely food in the first place. Eat somewhere else. Story 17. I have worked at Chipotle Steak, N-Shake Subway, Tropical Smoothie Cafe Qdoba, Jimmy John's. I would rather starve than eat at a Subway. That place is nasty. In particular, the seafood salad or sensation or whatever it was, which I don't think they do anymore, and the meatball sub are exceptionally nasty. But it's all gross, not clean. Cheap jerk ingredients and not real bread. Chipotle was super clean when I worked there 20 or so years ago, but their food was also good 20 years ago, and now not so much. So I don't eat there, but it was fantastic back in the day. Jimmy John's was very clean. I still love Jimmy. Steak and Shake. Do not order chicken tenders. They take longer to cook than we can wait on a drive-through timer, so they get pre-cooked and sit out far too long. Edit. Formatting. Story 18. Applebee's. Your mashed potatoes are microwaved. Also, your skillet meals are only sizzling because they tell us to put a piece of ice on it as we are walking it to your table so you can visibly see it. Story 19. A never order? Worked at a Star Cinema 30 years ago was a great high school job. Still can't get the butter topping at a movie theater. I swear it's unhealthier than just using real butter. Large popcorn is right around 1,000 calories for the popcorn itself. The butter flavor topping that we used was 140 calories per tap of the dispenser button, and the company standard at the time was up to 10 taps per large. 1,400 of the emptiest calories possible, dispensed from a machine that was cleaned once a week and probably violated at least one health code daily. We added butter goo as needed. Turned it off at the end of the night, leaving the goo to sit and solidify, to be rewarmed whenever it gets turned on the next day, and weekdays might not even bother with 2 or 3 of the 4 total stations. Story 20. My job too, me inside restaurant kitchens. Here's the rule of thumb I tell people. Drive around the back of the restaurant. If they aren't ashamed to let you see filth back there, imagine what it looks like where you can't easily see it. Story 21. I worked at AW when I was younger and high school. 50 years later, I still do. Good food, exceptionally clean. The only things I would not eat were foods I didn't care for. Answer. Hell yeah. Almost every AW I've been in is really well operated. Even the one in the kinda shoot location in my city gives a darn. Never been disappointed unwrapping a burger. Fries always hot and seasoned well, root beer cold as. I'm convinced a Buddy Burger with cheese is the supreme Lil cheeseburger in the fast food world. Thanks for your service. Story 22. Fribble machine at Friendly's wasn't too friendly, but delicious. So yeah. I remember washing it out and having baby roaches come out, but delicious. Story 23. I've worked at Subway in New Zealand, and overall, the place was always spotless and well above hygiene standards. The only thing I wouldn't recommend, the plain chicken strips used in the teriyaki and bacon ranch subs. The moment you open the bag, it hits you with a smell like a fart that's been vacuum sealed for freshness. Story 24. Cracker Barrel. Obsessive with cleanliness and constant checking of food temps. Cooked to temperature or not sent out for consumption. Story 25. Red Lobster microwaves the pasta in plastic bags. Not sure what they are made out of, but I doubt that can be healthy. Story 26. I grew up on a farm. When you go to Amish country, beware that they are known for their craftsmanship and not their cooking. Buy the chair, skip the pie. If you don't believe me, look at their feet. Answer. The Amish baked goods that always set up in my local market are genuinely terrible. The pies use flavorless canned pie fillings and frozen crusts. The cookies are bland with no vanilla or butter flavor. The breads are dry and they barely put any filling in the cinnamon rolls. They use shortening and the cheapest possible ingredients for absolutely everything. Yet they always sell out because people see them as charming, quaint, and they must use clean ingredients. They absolutely know how to pull wool over people's eyes and that's before you even acknowledge the animal abuse. Story 27. Applebee's don't order a steak when they're really busy. Common phrase in the kitchen was mark it and mic it, as in put grill marks on both sides, then nuke it in the microwave to keep those 12 minutes ticket times rolling. Bourbon Street steak medium rare is safe enough, though, since it finishes on a skillet. Story 28. I work at Outback Steakhouse and Topgolf different times of the year. At Topgolf, the chefs are on top of everything and the food is handled safely. Might not be high quality, but most fried stuff at Outback is questionable, especially coconut shrimp. I've got little experience to compare these against, but I would personally never visit my Outback as a customer. Story 29. I've worked a lot of fast food. The big thing is never eat at a restaurant that doesn't have a full parking lot at lunch or dinner time. They're guaranteed to be using outdated products, selling leftovers and making weird substitutions or leaving things out. Managing inventory is a nightmare in a dead shop. So remember that the next time you pull into Long John Silver's at noon and there's only 2 cars. Story 30. I worked at a McDonald's that was cleaner than Mary's panties, the virgin one. I also worked in an Arby's when the manager reminded us daily it wouldn't hurt customers if our cleaning spray in their food, but in both we didn't fudge with people's food. That's shoot. Story 31. Not that anyone will see this, but I'll never miss an opportunity to meanie about making the god-darn mother fudge piece of Shoot Street tacos at Safeway. Some things here might be inaccurate because it's been a minute since I worked at the Safeway deli, but trust that the vibes are real. So some poor sucker walks up and asks for street tacos. You're already pissed because you've got JoJo's in the fryer. You need to replace a chub of smoked turkey, empty and reload the dishwasher, go in the back and get more dishwasher soap, and you need to make some more General TSO's chicken. But because Some fudge MBA psychopath thought it would be casual and friendly for customers to be able to interrupt you at any time. All the time, you've got to stick a fudge railroad spike in it and make these shoot fudge tacos. So you've got to pretend to not be pissed at this person for burning your JoJo's, backing up your dishes, and forcing you to go on a taco odyssey, because how would they know that they've well and truly fudge up just now? You warn them. These usually take a while to make. They're undeterred, oh no worries. Fudge my life right now. Now we get to why the tacos are so goddarn stupid. They don't share a single ingredient with anything else in the sandwich bar, and people only order them once the last batch of ingredients go out of date. That means you start by checking the tortillas, out of date. Throw them in the trash, pull out new ones. Check the fish, out of date, throw it in the trash. Get more from the freezer. The mango salsa, the fresh cilantro, all out of date. Throw that shoot in the trash, walk all the way across the massive store and get this stupid bullshit. The customer is baffled. What are you doing? Don't worry, this is how the street tacos work. We just use 1/10 of a package of shoot and throw the rest away. So you get all your ingredients, finally assemble that thing, toast it. After all that effort, the customer looks at you and these 4 shoot teeny tiny tacos you've put together at the expense of all other work you need to get done. They see these 4 abominations that cost your sanity and say, oh, and sadly this will help no one avoid the suffering corporations inflict on their employees. What customer could really understand all that is wrong with how the Safeway deli is set up. Why should they know that every single ingredient on the street tacos, prominently advertised outside, will be expired? How could they know they'd stand there for far too long while some guy in a greasy apron stomps around, throwing food in the trash only for the result to be the worst food ever produced by man? No, Safeway will survive, and no one with the power to do anything about it will ever even feign giving a single flying fudge about how employees feel. So don't order the street tacos at Safeway. Or do. Maybe they're popular where you are. Story 32. Wendy's chili was the only sus thing. It's never really put away or cleaned or refilled. The pot's just always there. Story 33. Wow, I will never eat out again, except Pasta House. Please don't tell me anything bad about Pasta House. I love the house salad and the chicken marsala. Story 34. If you're getting any fountain beverage anywhere, cross your fingers that the staff clean the spigots. They get moldy if not cleaned regularly. Story 35. My husband and I spent years working in restaurants. His horror stories from Applebee's are unmatched. Edit. Actually answering the question, nothing with grilled chicken. But best bet is nothing, ever. Story 36. I worked at 2 Subways. One in the sketchiest mall in town where there was tons of issues with substances and where frequently we would get people oding in the doorway blocking it. Another in the quiet suburbs where nothing interesting ever happened. One was run by a very professional manager who ran 4 Subways and was respectable. The other ran by a self-proclaimed meth head who was tipsy during my training shift, who everyone told me would steal from the register and to double-check your count often, who I was told to never lend money to. You'd be amazed which is which. Story 37. Worked at the Cheesecake Factory in college. Honestly, would go back and eat there now. I never saw any mishandling of food bevs. The soup is made fresh every day, BTU. It's all hella good, so don't sleep on it. The broccoli cheddar and chicken tortilla are 10 out of 10. Story 38. The T-bone steak and the tres leches pancakes at IHOP are absolute garbage. The steak tips and the New York cheesecake pancakes, on the other hand, are quite good. Story 39. Guessing this will get lost in the replies, but a lot are talking about cleaning at places. In high school, I got a job at a Pizza Hut with the old-style red roof and building. I was the dishwasher and got yelled at a lot. It was drilled into me I had to wash, the soak, then leave the dishes in the blue solution in the third sink for 10 minutes. Well, they never had enough plates, so they would grab ones I have not even put in the solution yet, at all. The trouble was when a party of 4 came in, they wanted to place 4 empty small plates on the table when they sat down, not bring them out when the pizza was ready. Then later I was told I was not keeping the plates in the cleaning solution long enough. I told the manager she is the one taking them out of the rinse sink, but she just told me to do better. Story 40. I worked at Denny's in DTLA. Stay away from that one completely. They would stay getting their food delivered using a U-Haul. Story 41. Don't get the meatball subs at any sandwich place. They are kept in the sauce in the chafing tray all day and then reused day after day. Meatball never seems to be a brisk seller, so it's very possible you're getting some old meatballs. Story 42. Firehouse subs. Don't get the caramelized onions or peppers. They're just microwaved with flavor powder, about 30 minutes each. IRC. Story 43. If y'all could see the state of the average commercial kitchen, you would stop eating out. At one, I was told to use a floor squeegee on the Stanley's S-Prep tables. At another, I saw the kitchen manager use a spatula to get a face-down broiler entree plate off the floor and served it. The wait staff spitting in mean people's food is hygienic compared to the absolute state of perpetual filth that is the kitchen. Story 44. Calamari. I don't do work in the industry, but there's a recent This American Life that investigates whether pork anus is being used as a calamari substitute. Their research was inconclusive, but it wasn't a hard no. Story 45. Used to work at McDonald's. Almost anything that's prepared by hand in the restaurant. Store managers are greedy. They usually run skeleton crews. We were expected to be fast and accurate. They didn't care about food handling. There was no time to change gloves every batch, so we would handle chicken, beef patties, and fish with the same gloves. Grill had to be cleaned regularly. Only time it got cleaned was during the night shift. The prep table was nasty as shoot. It would get wiped with the same rag for a whole shift. Sometimes ingredients would touch the table as orders were pulled. We didn't wash our wash hands as often. Story 46. Was a pretty common occurrence to find mold in the pans at Pizza Hut because washers stacked them wet. Seeing people prep deep dish toss dough right over it and not even blink left me never again wanting their food. Story 47. 1975 was working at a Pizza Hut, and like a lot of places full of teens, there were always some kind of substances floating around. One of the stoners came in and had done some acid before coming in and was pretty out of it. Nevertheless, he was doing okay until he picked up the push broom and used it to sweep off the counter where the pizzas were made. Those old huts had the kitchen in full view of the dining room, and customers saw that, and the place just emptied out. I thought the manager was going to lose his mind. Guy was obviously fired, LOL. Story 48. Having worked at Starbucks, most of them are pretty clean. I don't really like their coffee, but it's clean. Story 49. Ranch dressing, it